Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm going to give it a few minutes and let individuals join. But happy to have everyone here with me. Typically like to start these off by just understanding where you guys are chiming in from. Love if you could drop in the chat where you're reaching in from. I'm in Dallas, Texas. Border area. Hello. And nice. Awesome. While we give it a minute, I usually try to give it maybe 2 or 3 minutes. If you're first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. McKinney, nice. And I usually try to give it a couple of minutes in the beginning, but today we're going to be talking about mostly like what happened at Inbound. We're going to mainly go to the Spotlight page if you had a chance to get through that, talk about what some of these things are, how you may use them. It's all AI. So a lot of cool new things, obviously, out if you've seen the emails and things like that about it, or if you had a chance to attend. But there's a lot of AI features, a lot of cool and exciting things that HubSpot is really pushing, I would say, what's possible in the CRM system today using some of those AI tools. So it's really exciting to kind of see what's going in for your HubSpot user or considering HubSpot. And so what's exciting about it is just what is going to be at your fingertips and you don't have to try to figure out how to build yourself. So really cool to see all the features coming in. Let me go ahead and share my screen. As you guys know, I don't really do these traditionally like you would see online. I just kind of talk to you guys and show you what I see and my thoughts and what I'm hearing. Feel free to drop in the chat questions that you have as I'm going through this, and I will try to answer them after it, and I'll try to get to the ones that I didn't answer towards the end of the call. Typically, these are going to be 35, 40 minutes, and then we try to leave a little time for questions. The other thing I will say is that right now, and I've only ever done these Hug events this way, where it's kind of presentation style, but I think there might be a way to do group style. I would love to know if you guys would be interested in that, where we can engage and talk to each other. If so, drop that in the chat. It's a bit doing that way. All right. Awesome. So I'll give you guys my spiel. I'm Michael Wilson, founder and CEO of Processology, located in Dallas, Texas. We run the Hug for DFW. I have 15 years of operational experience. This slide is actually wrong because it's from last one, but I did have first 2.5 months Wednesday, and then let's see, problem solver at heart and certified HubSpot partner or organization. We typically service SaaS service-based nonprofits and public sector that are looking to use HubSpot and get more out of it. They want advanced tools, they want unification, and they're looking to just operate in the way that HubSpot says is fast, easy. So that's what we're all about, really focusing on process-focused things. So that's it about me on my side, but just to let you know who you're talking to and or listening to here. Today, the things that we will talk about is a lot. So there was a lot at HubSpot. We're going to try to go through a little fast. If we went too fast, slow down in the chat. Now I'll try to slow down for you guys, but it's just a lot to cover in a little bit of time. And then maybe we'll dig more specifically into some of these and in sessions. So let's see. Absolutely love attending other HubSpot webinars in that format, such as okay, cool, perfect. Yep. So we'll definitely look into that. If anybody else is interested in that kind of group format, we can have back and forth conversation. Please drop in that you're going to pay attention to that as we consider the next event set up. All right, so diving in, we're going to talk. We talked about this in our last session, but came out for this at Inbound that are actually really cool thing. Data Studio, same thing we'll talk about. So in terms of like data, if you use Operations Hub to rebrand it to Data Hub, And so some of those tools are like the data studio, data agents. HubSpot talked a lot about assistants and agents this year. And that's not to a surprise. I think everybody's talking about right now what that looks like and the landscape where you will either be leveraging assistants or certain parts of your process will be managed by AI teammates, essentially, using the agents. Really exciting stuff, really cool stuff to try to help make sure that you guys are moving and keeping up with speed. I kind of look at this like automation. Like at one point, automation was not something that was really available to the small to mid-sized businesses. Hard to keep up when you're doing things manually and your competition is doing them with automation. I think AI is very similar to that, where you may be using automation and now they're and AI agents to do work. So they're moving pretty quickly compared to standard automation. And my little spill on this and thinking about it, I think AI is something that we need to embrace. I don't think we really have much of a choice on that. It's here and it's going to be here. I think it fits in your organization. And so let's talk through it. So the things, again, we'll talk about is Breeze Assistants, what that actually in HubSpot. HubSpot is their call and meeting recorder or no HubSpot. So if you use a third-party tool, this is essentially going to do but natively in HubSpot, which is pretty cool. If you're on a sales team, Power Dollar, we'll talk a little bit about that. Essentially, it allows you to call a large amount of individuals rather quickly, dialing through and trying to connect to those calls. Marketing Studio, sorry about that. Marketing Studio, we'll talk today. Essentially, Marketing Studio is like marketing campaigns, but it's it is really cool once you understand how to use it. At first, it just feels like a total like transformation in the way that they explain it, and I'll show this. It's like process map, but for your marketing campaign. So it's really cool to kind of see how things can connect, how things are connected to each other, and what the flow should look like. So I think they're trying to essentially create this home where you can build a campaign and visually see how everything connects. So it's kind of interesting. We'll talk about the Breeze Marketplace today. The marketplace that's out there. These marketplaces essentially are going to be and bring some of that AI stuff to you. So we'll talk about that. Flexible CRM views. I read about this one personally. I think and we'll talk about self-generating CRM, essentially what it sounds like, the CRM being, and so we'll talk about it as well. So before we jump into all of that, actually we can go ahead and jump into that now. So I will mention the biggest thing is that HubSpot went through a rebrand. Those are different. So I'm on the new theme. If you can click on the company name in the top and you will see an area right at the top that says switch to the classic, or in your case, it will say new theme if you haven't already switched. It's a new look, feel, and color. I personally like it. I've been using it for a few weeks now, and I really enjoy it. And it changes everything. So when you're in the system down to the way everything looks in HubSpot, this on their website, the branding's different. And so I think it's pretty pleasant looking feel to it to me. I think their goal was to a little bit of the playful cartoon feel to something that feels a little bit more sophisticated. I think is going for. So like when you're inside of like contacts and things like that, it does look different. Inside of record, I'm 100% sure if I love it or not. It feels more visually pleasing. I think it's going to be a preference type of thing. But I will let you guys can see what it looks like. So overall, that things are broken down into cards essentially. If you know much about HubSpot, you're actually able to build custom cards and things like that, custom tabs, a lot of stuff that has come through with like record page of being able to do things to customize based on conditions of HubSpot data. So for example, you can have tabs that are based on certain teams. You can have certain properties required. If you update one, it requires you to update 4 properties. So they're on each other. A lot of those things to make sure the tree of things are getting put into place. So really cool to see that the cards here you can see that I'm not going to go too, but you can see over when you're editing your page list. We'll let this load a little slow for me, but I will show this piece. If you're a person that has permission to edit layouts and things like that, you will see the ability to add some of that conditional logic. Partially this loading is me, not HubSpot. If you guys work like me, I probably have a million tabs open every day. So I'm going to go into my default view here. How many of you are utilizing this view? Have you seen redesign within HubSpot? If you can, just drop it in the chat. I'm curious on if has actually seen worked with it. But so right here, the view editor for your web pages, you can actually click on conditional logic and actually set logic based on CRM properties. So for example, if the contact priority is any of, and let's just say very high, then I want to display or hide this at different like qualifications like that you might want to show on this sidebar. So we kind of use this. We use this actually a lot in our organization for certain like form-based things that we need. What we have is a space, but we only needed a certain, have it pop up when that happens. So really cool to use that. Same thing going to be with your tabs over here. It's going to be a very similar thing. You'll be able to make these conditional in the same way. So a good way to kind of customize and edit some things. So now that we talked, looks like if you see that, don't freak out. It's literally just how they're changing things up. Spotlight. So this year, again, like I said, a lot of things around AI. HubSpot's goal is to set you up with a smart CRM so that you can do a lot of things. So when we start to think about things like agent, we talked about this in court, but it's been expanded to really help across marketing sell so that you can use everything. Is this out of the box or do we need to set it up? I'm assuming you're talking about set up condition. In terms of conditional logic, you will need to set that up for whatever conditions you want for your organization based on when those things should happen. So you would have to figure out what logic you want when something should show or not show. For example, we have different types of deals that we work with, different types of projects. So we might have one section for consulting and development projects, a different section that pops up if it's a subscription based, like a retainer service, things like that. And so we'll show different properties on those different types of projects. So you use those conditional logic to do that. If the project type equals X, then show this card. Otherwise, show this other card type of thing. Hopefully that makes sense. In terms of the custom agent, one of the things that I'm probably excited about on my side with this is I heard about this, but I was waiting for it to come out, is that it now has the ability to actually update the CRM. Meaning like if it's in a conversation, the property's in your CRM itself. So you control, so it's not just like going to run rapid in your system. You still remain in control. But for example, I may say that my customer agent has the ability to update life cycles or update priorities based on the conversation that's happening. And so it literally can update those things. Things that are out there, like updating CRM, when we talk about things like self-generating data, is there is what they call essentially smart properties that use AI to update the property based on things that are happening with the company or deal. So, for example, it could be that I want to find certain information on a company or to conversations happening, and a person mentioned their job title, so I want to grab that job title and update something. Those types make sense when you start to think about application. Tool is HubSpot. When your deals and sales tool is HubSpot. When your marketing is HubSpot. Your servicing is HubSpot. Right? When all these things are HubSpot, your website's on HubSpot. You're getting a lot of data, and probably more data than you're going to actually digest and use. So utilizing things like smart properties and things like that, it allows you to scan all of this data and fill in what's important for your organization and what makes sense to stand out. The thing that I will point out is that you may have also seen that HubSpot has been releasing the Breeze credits. some of the things that came out will utilize Breeze credits, and that's something to be aware of. So what I mean by that is, like, for example, smart properties do use Breeze credits. So every time that property's grabbing information or trying to find something, it will use some credit. So keep that in mind. Everything uses credits that they rise, and out of box you have it. And some things are to require you to utilize credits. And if you're on the new seat level seat plans, which I explained this in the last session, is that you do have an allotment of it. You can see that of what that allotment is by clicking on the name. Then you will see an area down here called Spot Credits, and you will see how many credits you have in your allotment. And if you need tools, then you can always upgrade to get higher credit tiers. So yeah, really cool with the agent. It also can handle now, which is actually very interesting. So it's pretty cool. If I think it's something out, what I really like what I was doing is, like, it's making so where I don't need to go get 5 or 10 different tools, which has always been kind of HubSpot's model to an extent, of having it all in one place. So I think that's really cool. So now the phone call, and they can create tickets and things like that based on it. It can qualify leads. It can, again, do all the things that you need to do, doing chats on your website, doing all things, and then taking the appropriate actions, whether that's updating the CRM record, finding somebody or signing someone, solving a problem through a support. So it's really cool that you'll be able to do all that with that one agent. Again, keep in mind the credits and how much you'll use. Play with it, see how much, and then go from there. Prospecting agent. So prospecting agent got a lot of, I would say, upgrades in terms of what it can do and how it's possible to customize it. This is something we've actually been testing internally quite a bit to see if it's sufficient enough to do what we want it to do, and the type of things that we particularly sell, would it work? But what I think that they've done, or not think, what they have done now is made it similar to your customer agent, to where it's just smarter, to do more, and it's able to think better than it did in the past. Before, it was kind of like an agent that just did some research and then put together an email. But as you'll see, some of the things here is that it's going to help you with your prospecting. It's going to be looking at your data to give you cues and things like that when maybe there's opportunities, those types of things, researching target accounts that prospecting agent can go do the research on that and then give your team insights so that either it can follow up or they can follow up. Really cool on that from a sales perspective. It's totally a DR type of tool, SDR type of tool that's going to help your team move faster. I actually, for the research side, quite a bit, and it does save a ton of time. So I definitely would recommend looking at that. I will talk a little bit about how some of this stuff is connecting. You might see that HubSpot is adding a lot of new features, and it's like these agents depend on them, which is why they've had to add them. So things like buyer's intent that didn't used to be there, they've had to add that so the agent has something reaching out to, and those types of things. So we'll talk a little bit more about that though. Data agent is what it sounds like. It's your data agent, right? So it's helping you understand the data. It's helping you clean your data. It's helping you break that data down and all those things. So you're getting CRM coming in, call data coming in, emails coming in, web stuff coming in. I'm going to show this because some people may or may not know this is there, and I may have shown this in the past. If you're inside of your CRM system, most people know, like when you hover over, let me just open this up here. When you hover over CRM, you can see the different types of databases that you have in your CRM. You'll see some additional ones in ours because these are all custom things that we built inside of our, but most of the time you're going to see like these, like here, this is technically deals. We just renamed it. You have your ticket, but if you go into any record page at a contact company and you click on this, you will see that there's actually a lot more, there's more databases here than you might realize. This is something new that helps in order to make it so you can act inside of HubSpot. So for example, when you think about like your orders, if you're a company that does orders or sells products on there or something like that, bring all that order data into a database. Now you can store it inside HubSpot. And so when data is connected to a contact that purchased or made an order, now the agents now have that bit of information. So they're saying, let us build out things, build out databases so that you can store your data here so that the agent understands this data and has this context so that it can best support your team. So really cool on how it does that. What do you agent can handle phone calls? The AI can answer the call. Exactly, AI can answer the call. Yes, that's a beta feature issue, but it definitely something that's coming. So it has its own built-in own built-in service. So you may be using a different phone service, but HubSpot has its own. But yes, it can help handle calls and route calls and do those things appropriately, or update CRM data based on the conversation it's having. If you think about it in theory, it really makes sense in the sense that I would say AI audio for a while, and it's gotten pretty good. You can already do a recording of a call and make a transcript, and we already know that we can extract from the transcript, and now we can update CRM's information based on that. So again, all the pieces have been being built to make that possible. So it's just kind of like the next evolution. If you use AirCall has a very similar tool as well, a very similar service where the AI can answer calls. And a lot of this stuff is new. So obviously check it out, try it, take it all with a little bit of a grain of salt, because it may work for your industry, it may not. Where I find that people are seeing, I would say, success with it, especially in service-based businesses, where they may have follow-up calls or they may have outreaches or emails and things like that, where people are calling in and need, maybe they're doing prospecting through that or sales through that or that sort. I think that's where you're seeing a lot of things, closing support tickets for things that may not really be complex. I would be careful on where you use it. I look at it like going to the doctor's office. If you got to the doctor's office and really bad news was presented to you by a robot or AI, you probably wouldn't love that experience. So some cases will require a little bit more care. But it's getting good. It's getting to a point where it's going to be hard to differentiate if it's a real person or not. So yeah. All right. So we talked about data, all that stuff, types of communications that you may have. The emails are all being tracked inside the system. All the events are coming in. Even though HubSpot doesn't have an event management system, you can store event data from your event platforms that you use in HubSpot so that you can link that to your contact to see what contacts are at what events. And then you can automate through these things, segment through these things. You can score through all these things, all that types of stuff. But more importantly, the AI has that insight. All right, is what it sounds like. The difference between agent and an assistant is that the assistant is essentially assisting you with something, helping you work faster, automation quicker, whereas an agent is actually like a teammate getting work done in the background without you. So that's how I would look at the two differences in those things. What type of data does it keep? I'll show that in a second. I'll go back around to that in just a second on the event data. So I can jump back in and actually show you that on the record. So there's really cool things in terms of what we have on Breeze Agent and in terms of the Breeze Assistants on being able to help you with some of those things. I did these up because I wanted to be able to show some of these. Let me just make sure I get the right ones here. On the assistant side. So again, more of working with you. So answering questions, do things. It's the assistant that you already see. So inside of HubSpot, they had what was called Copilot. They've literally just rebranded to Assistant. But what they've added that's really cool is that you have the Breeze Assistant, but there's other assistants that can add it to this. So for example, if I come over to my Breeze Studio, and here, what you'll see is that, and I'll let this load for a second before I explain it, is that there are 4 assistants, and you can actually create assistants in the system, or you can look at in the marketplace and try to find assistants that may already exist in order to activate those. So there's one actually we were looking at recently, a pretty cool one that will show an assistant so people can actually use it. So for example, if you have a brand assistant, there's another one that it might actually be your ICP assistant. was another one I was looking at specifically, though. I don't see it on here right now, but I know it's available to accounts. But essentially, what it does, it's like knowledge for team, essentially, where you can have it answer questions that they might, your own AI assistant inside of HubSpot that answers actual organizational questions. So similar to like pulling from organizational knowledge. So pretty cool. All right. In terms of events, over to marketing, you'll see event. And so if you were to open that up, this is where you'll be able to set up your events, integrate with your different tools here. And for those different, the type of data that gather, you can see everything here, associations to those events. You'll also see things like the registration information, attendees, cancellations, the dates of those events, the organizers. All of this data can come into HubSpot. Manage the event. That's still going to be managed by whatever third party you're using, but bringing that data into the system versus just dropping in as a note or something like that, or having to build a custom. You can now do that with the object inside of HubSpot definition. So built, as you might have saw some of the objects inside of our system, we built event management into HubSpot, being able to actually have events and register for those events and do those things. And then we integrate with this piece of the events. It also integrates into HubSpot the way that we would want to integrate. So what's really cool about doing this, the benefit of doing this, is that now that's on record. The AI knows it, your team knows it. You can automate based off of it. You can segment based off of it, create lists, all that good stuff. So it's really do that. So if you're doing events, definitely been looking at connecting your event to your HubSpot platform so that data starts to come into the system. Okay. So the custom assistants is what it sounds like. You're just able to build custom assistants to meet your needs. I think the way I would describe this is that if you use ChatGPT, it's similar to a GPT, where you can create a GPT that almost works like a knowledge base or understands your business or under context based on certain sources of information. So matching 3 or 4 documents to this assistant that it can reference, and it just gets within the data that's in those documents. Breeze is what it sounds like. So when we think about marketplace and studio, what that means is are things that you can go and get. So they're already going to be available in the marketplace. So the marketplace is getting a whole rush where we can see things are already available for us to go and opt into to use. So for example, the call recap agent, a customer handoff agent, sales closes the deal. You have a CSM, that contact record, and then the AI is going to go and look at all that sales data and then give them automatically. Excuse me. So that's what these things do. The studio, what's different about the studio is that essentially at some point you'll be able to build agents as well. And actually agents like in the market we'll see before the end of the year probably. I'm not 100% sure about that. But it'd be really cool to be able to build those things and have also put them in the marketplace as well. So place thing to do, and also discover things and see what other people build that could be useful to your organization. So definitely look out for that. All right, let's go ahead and jump down. So again, I just kind of, this is more of a case study, but I kind of mentioned about the unification on how they're bringing all those databases in and bring all that data into one system. That's what this is one of the things I mentioned early on that I'm actually excited about is the flexible views. So as you'll see here, not all these are views available today, but they do have some. When we talk about views, specifically what we're looking at is when we go, we have typically the table view, right? So we're seeing our data sheet type of format. If you want to see that data in different ways, you will be able to see that data. So as we look at our views here, we'll be able to see today we have board view available where we can turn this into a board. And HubSpot, you had to have pipe new boards based on properties. So cool. Maybe you want to break things down in life cycles. So that's how we have it broken down here. We can see where everybody falls in cycles and how they're moving through that. And then we can drag records from one to the other if we need to change the life cycle of that record. So that's going to be our board view. The report view, where you can have a report that is on the that's based on the contacts that are showing your filtering is. You can see that breakdown here of that report page. And so this becomes actually really cool when you start to think about views. And if you're like in sales or service, we use a lot. This stuff becomes very useful because now I don't have to go find a dashboard. I don't have to go do those things to be able to see certain data and information. I will say I think this is pretty in kind of the infancy stage of this part, because I don't believe you can do a lot of customization to this. This is kind of what they give you is what you have. It's based on the filtering that you have. And then you also have calendar view, things like this from a calendar. So you might say like, well, why would I use calendar for contacts and things like that? So most of this is made because what HubSpot does is builds you the foundation so that you can build on top of it. So another one that's not showing up here right now, but if we jump back into Spotlight, you'll see it on this side is like get view, and then you'll have view. So when you start to get into things that maybe you have an object that manages, like let's say jobs that you have to do, and you want to know where those jobs are, or being able to use Gantt view that, or use map view to see where those jobs are located to plan out a system more intentionally in those ways. Whereas before you would have to use a third-party software to figure that out, or a spreadsheet to try to figure that out. So now you'll be able to do a lot of that directly inside of, be able to drag things and move things. So pretty cool on how inside of the system itself. All right, self-generating stuff already. This is where it's looking at data and things like that, and it's like updating the CRM system in order to keep your data up to date. So what I wanted to look at for a second was, and I'll go back and see if I can show this over here, is if you go into properties, a lot of features on the side, like workflows, where you have workflows now, so you can do Breeze and workflows to update things, to do certain types of push inside of the system and trigger that workflows. But they also have a beta where you can bring in LMM, so you can bring in things like if you have an account with like ChatGPT or Gemini, those things, where you can create the account and actually use those inside of workflows. So that's also something that is a beta that's out right now to be able to do some of that. So real stuff when it comes to that, for sure. So you'll start to see some of this stuff popping up, like data agents and things starting to pop up. You'll start to see that stuff throughout your system that helps do some of this stuff. All right, so specifically wanted to look at the smart going to be in here, but it's going to be in your AI section of stuff. But there was some stuff I know that came out in here, like an actual URL now is in place. You know anything about property syncs, all that stuff's in place. And then let's see. So yeah, that stuff's there for that. But mainly the URL properties there, your HubSpot user properties are those types of things. We use that quite a bit if you wanted to add multiple users to records. In your settings, this is where you a lot of your AI stuff in general. If you haven't looked through this, I would definitely look through and read some of the stuff. And so you get to the trust center to understand how they're using your data, if data is being shared or not. So definitely check that out. Look at your data sources, set up your kits, your company profiles, your ideas, your products, all those types of things. If you have products in HubSpot, you still need to set this up so that the AI understands different types of products, and then user profile data. So check that out as well. Trying to see if there's anything else in here specific I want to talk through. There is another app object. I'm not sure if we have this, but I believe they mentioned this at Inbound, which is projects in beta. So starting to work on like project management spot, which I'm pretty excited for. I think that'll be really to have that project management system built into the HubSpot. That kind of hints on why, again, like I said, they kind of build these little pieces so that they can bring features later on why they have Gantt charts. That's where it makes the most sense is in your product object to have within HubSpot. So that's that you can check out if you can. What it's about. What I can tell you is that it's very much in its infancy management system today, but it's pretty cool to kind of see what it's like. How would you use ChatGPT while they're connecting it? So the way that you would do that is one, you have to go and get the beta. So the way that you is name, come on down to ups, and then you would find, I believe, if you just type in LLM, I believe it should show up. So let's check. Yeah, this one here. So you would want to opt into this version here. And then once you do that, it will add an area for you to pick your AI provider and then so you'll see the list here of the ones that it supports right now. So really cool if you need something outside of what HubSpot can do internally already, and you want to use one of those platforms, maybe, and you want to use one of those platforms to process data or to get something that HubSpot is not going to be able to do out of the box. So hopefully that answers the question. I strongly recommend you guys check this out if you have not already. This option things are literally every single day, just to keep up on what you're, especially if you're looking into any of the AI or make sure any of that type of stuff. Knowing if was planning to do it prior to going and buying from a third tool, if it's already existing here, and then also utilizing marketplace to see has somebody already built it in that already integrates HubSpot. So definitely check that out as well. Let's see here. Last thing that I have on my list that I wanted to chat about was going to be process guide. Can you please send a link to the page? Yeah, in terms of getting to the update page, because it's going to go to my account, your ID. All you have to do is click on the company name, go down to where it says product updates, and that'll take you to this page that I'm on. If I see you this link, it's not going to let you log in. So, okay. So the last thing I said, I was mentioning I want to talk about was going to be process guides. I'm just going to copy and I'll update here. I think it's pretty cool. When I first saw it, and they probably figured that this was going to happen, so they actually put it inside of here. But is that it kind of sounds like playbooks. If you ever use playbooks for anything, you're welcome. I'm Andy. If you ever use playbooks for anything, then you'll know that they're great if you're in a call and those types of things. But sometimes it's a little kind of hard to follow them and be active in the conversation. And you have to kind of like everything you get kind of collects its information, might go in different orders. So process guides are designed to help your reps go through a specific process and be dynamic. What that means is that if I have a sales or service rep or someone that's going through something based on the information, it's going to adjust. As you'll see here just in the screenshot, they're going through filling out something for, let's say, customer health, and they're trying to find what the health of the customer is. Based on out, it's going to ask additional questions or different questions based on that. So it's a really good process, for example, and individuals are filling out information, or if you have a qualification process and you're trying to understand what somebody qualified based on a list of answers, you can build that out using the process guidelines. A qualification form, program qualification form, they would fill it out, and your rep should know if they qualify answers that they're putting in. So it's cool use cases on how you can. It is designed to help you standardize a process and help them go through it. They don't have to guess the order. Whereas the playbook, yes, you can list it in order they would go, but they have the ability to go in different routes. So playbooks don't really account for like if then that type of things, or if they don't have what you're asking for, then what to do next. And so, and even if you decide to put that logic into a playbook, it makes the playbook overly complex to where no one's going to use it. So I think this is a really cool solution that they're building here in order to be able to try to simplify that quite a bit. So pretty cool. So check that out. It's something we've wanted for a while because it's kind of like internal forms. If you've ever used another technology that had internals, it kind of works similar to that. Whereas the same way you would do a conditional form for your customer, and based on their answers, other things, this is going to work essentially. All right. Any questions you guys have? Maybe you saw something there. Something doesn't even have to be about inbound spotlight. If I know it, I'll try to answer it for you. But at this point, that's basically all the talking points that I had on my list to go through today in terms of talking with the AI specific stuff. And so I will do my shameless little here on for you guys to see if you guys are looking for a partner to work with or somebody to help you, or looking for somebody to help in the data managing HubSpot. We're here for you. Feel free to scan that or visit us at Processology. Schedule a call. Reach out to me directly as well at michael@processology.net and send me an email. It's not a problem. But if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. Love to answer. What's your social? That's a good one. I like that. So, but yeah, actually, funny you dropped the social thing. I will say this: HubSpot did come out with a beta CRM to like sensitive information, like routing numbers, things like that, to where it would take and remove it from your CRM to help with security purposes. So those are some of the other things that they're doing on the side of things. So that's another pretty cool feature, and just kind of made sense within the social. So. Awesome. If you guys don't have any questions, I'm just going to stay here until I see the numbers drop in participants, and then I'll end it at that point. But I want to try to answer any questions if anybody have them, or you want to see something that's in the CRM I can help answer. Yeah, the joke helped. Thanks. I appreciate it. You're very welcome. I set up in here right now, so I don't have that. Even if I add it, it's not going to add immediately. But if that's something that you're interested in, we can probably do an entire session on how to integrate something like ChatGPT and use cases on how you would use that. So I would definitely notate that down for future events. In terms of a use case for using like ChatGPT inside of a work. In terms of a use case for that, I mean, they'll see that works really good right now to understanding in HubSpot, not necessarily out of HubSpot, but something like a ChatGPT that can do more things like search the internet and do those types of things. It's going to be really good at that. So, for example, I may want to have an agent that can go out and a specific information for me, or I may want the agent to say, like, let's say I wanted to all the data on a record in a certain time and give and then create like a summary and then put it back on. One of the ways that we're looking at using this is in a similar way of that. Like, we actually do manage projects in HubSpot. We've been doing it for a while, but we don't fully manage them. We also use ClickUp to actually manage the scope of work, but we manage the customer relationships on those projects inside of HubSpot. And so what we did is we built another object that manages like what we call entries, so that we can do things like client updates, those types of things in HubSpot. The primary reason why is because we wanted to use the AI to do the project updates for us versus relying on our project manager to do them. Just because sometimes what can happen with internal team members is they can be a little biased, right? So they might not want to put the bad thing happen, so they kind of make it sound better than it was, or they or a customer gave really good feedback and they didn't really notate that or didn't know what to do with that. So what we're doing is taking all of that data on these entries and on the project that we're putting and having the AI run and essentially give us a project report, let's say once a week, once a month, that type of thing. And it follows a certain format to do that. And so it will be able to write that in a conversational way that will be understandable for our team. So hopefully If that makes sense. For I think it's a way you could have it personally write an email every person, like if the email is based on that you know about it, those types of things. Have a good day. All right. I haven't seen any other questions, so I'll call it there. Thanks everyone in the next one.